This is Learn from Others, where we interview a cross-section of successful individuals so you can learn from their experiences, achievements, and even their mistakes. We ask 4 questions that will educate and inspire. Greg Stanley will be your guide as we join our guest on a journey from adolescent daydreaming to success in today's world. Join us on this adventure as we learn from others together.
Welcome to Learn from Others, where we help others succeed by sharing success. I'm very excited to introduce our special guest, Rachel Lawson. Rachel, thank you for taking us on your career journey.
Thank you for having me.
Well, before we find out what you're doing today, let's start at the very beginning, and please tell us, what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I grew up, I wanted to either be a senator or an actress.
Those are like totally opposite, right?
I really equally wanted to be both. I think a senator, I truly, as I learned in school, kind of how the world works, I wanted to be, a lawmaker. That was really intriguing to me. And an actress, I think just truly, my idols were mostly famous people. And I think I do love the arts. I'm a big theater goer, but I think there was a little bit of fame desire in there as well.
Some people might say senators are actors.
Well, that's actually how I got into business. I actually, as I got older, I think around 8th grade, I realized that to be a politician, my career was to be a politician, not necessarily make change. I mean, they do make change, but I realized there was more things to play and thought that working in business, I might be able to influence senators versus being one.
Oh, that's a great way to think about it. I would have never thought of that. That's great. Well, what was your first job, your first real job, one where you felt like you had responsibilities?
My first real job, I was in high school. I worked the counter at Dunkin' Donuts. My job, I had to get up really early. I had to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and Sunday, and my job was to serve coffee and donuts. I did not make the donuts, but I served them.
I was about to say, is that the one, it's time to make the donuts?
Exactly. I was too young to make them, but I had to get up early to serve them.
That must have been hard, especially on the weekends.
It was really hard. You go out at night, and then you have to get up really, really early the next morning, and people, before 7 a.m., they're very serious about their orders. We would have lines out the door.
You don't want to mess up that glazed donut now, right?
No, not at all.
Well, what was your favorite donut?
My favorite donut was chocolate glazed, kind of cakey, but sweet. Those are good, so you can never go wrong with that. And I'm from the East Coast, so Dunkin' Donuts is my preference even today over Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, I hear you there. That's for sure. Well, did you have a favorite or subject or hobby in school?
Yeah, so acting. I did actually. I can't claim that I have lots of talent, but I was in lots of theater. I did choir and all of the plays in school. And my favorite class was probably math or history. That's
cool. So as a student of the arts, were you in like Hello Dolly, Brigadoon, Music Man?
We did Music Man my freshman year, did Chorus Line, and then we did probably more obscure ones like Kiss Me Kate and Once on This Mattress. Lots of fun. Oh, we did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Okay. Well, if you can't tell, usually people don't quote Brigadoon often in an interview. I have a little music theater in my background as well from the summer orchestra perspective. So
there you go.
The good old 76 trombones and Music Man. I played the trombone, so that was like, hey, that's awesome. So
nice.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's exciting. So you wanted to maybe be in politics or be an actress. You have a little bit of a background of the arts. We kind of got an idea of where you started. Well, tell us where you are today. And along with that, if you would, kind of walk us through your resume, where you went to school, and some of the first jobs or internships you had that led you to your current job.
Sure. So my current job, I work in the eCommerce team for a company called Mondelez, which has many popular snack brands such as Oreo and Trident and Sour Patch Kids. And in the e-commerce team, my role is really to understand how best to sell our products online. More and more people buy their products through companies online like in Amazon or Walmart.com. And so we want to make sure that we are wherever the consumer wants to buy us. In terms of how I got there, so I truly did want to go into business and influence senators. And I went undergrad to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia and studied business. And I loved my marketing classes. And so actually did not intern in marketing, but I did right when I came out of school. I worked for an insurance company doing marketing for life insurance, helping the life insurance agents do their marketing plans. I loved the people. I did not really love life insurance, very important product, but not that exciting for me. And so I actually went back and got my master's in business administration from Columbia and went into consumer packaged goods to do brand management. And so that's really what I consider myself as a brand manager, which is basically like a business owner. It's not your own business, but you're managing the business, all aspects of it in terms of how to grow the business, where to grow it, what products you should offer, what the communication will be, and how to do it in a profitable way. And I really have loved every aspect of it because it really is like you have a business. You know, we have a huge team of people who work with us to help us make the product better, to make the product and get it out to our customers, and then get out to the end consumer. Every day is a little different. It's a lot of fun. So I worked at Unilever, which makes a lot of products in food as well as health and beauty. I worked on Slim Fast, the shakes, as well as Wishbone salad dressing. And then I came to Mondelez several years ago, and I've worked mostly on Planters, but then mostly on our Nabisco products.
With Oreo being a focus at one point, correct?
Yes. I've worked on our kids' business. I've worked on Honey Maid graham crackers, as well as Teddy Grahams and Barnum's animal crackers. And then I worked really in our whole on-the-go business, which is really where I worked on Oreo. And so I focused on convenience stores, which is really a different kind of snacking occasion. So usually when you're buying your Oreo cookies, you're buying them from the grocery store, bringing them home, eating them with your family and friends. When you're going to a convenience store, you typically are going in looking for a snack to go with your beverage you're going to consume when you leave the store, possibly in a car. And so my focus there was really helping grow Oreo in small mom-and-pop convenience stores.
Were you responsible for the crazy flavors of Oreos we've seen explode in the last few years?
You know, unfortunately, I have not been. I wish I could take credit
Okay.
for that. It's a very big team for Oreo. And so I have not been part of the flavors, but it's really exciting. And I'll say from an e-commerce perspective, we really like to use those flavors because we found there's a lot of people who want to try the flavors may not be able to find them in their store. And so often they'll go online searching because they'll hear of a wacky flavor and they're not really sure if it's real or not. And so they'll go online searching for the flavor. And so we try to make sure that whatever flavor is coming out, that they can find it online. But I don't actually get to pick the flavors.
Now, what are some of the wacky flavors, and do you have a favorite?
So my favorite flavor is actually mint, especially the Oreo Thins mint.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've had everything. I think, Swedish Fish Oreo was really, really popular 2 years ago. We've had blueberry pie. We've had candy corn is a big favorite for people. We had a s'mores Oreo. Pretty much you think of it, we've had it or we definitely will have it.
I think the first one I had was the red velvet double. I think it was a double
Yes.
stuff at the time, and it was fantastic.
Red velvet, yes. That's definitely a favorite of people as well. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I think the fun thing about working in snacking is, snacks are usually consumed either to tide you over, which is, really important, or in more of a communal kind of space where people are kind of gathered around, maybe watching TV or playing a game or on a long road trip. And so usually people are snacking. It's, kind of a fun occasion. Or I remember being a kid after school and, having my graham crackers and juice, right after I got home from school. And so usually it's kind of a fun occasion. So I love the fact that Oreo has really kind of tapped into that and really knows people want, new news. They want to try something different. And Oreo enables consumers to do that.
For the record, my top 3 cookies in no particular order: double stuffed Oreo, vanilla wafers, and graham crackers.
Yes, I love the graham crackers. Definitely love the Oreo thins as well as the regular Oreos. And Chips Ahoy, chunky Chips Ahoy. Don't know if you've ever had that, but the chunky Chips Ahoy I think is underrated. Very, very good.
Yeah. So you've told us a little bit about Oreo and your work with the Biscuit brand. So tell us your job today as e-commerce. And I know that we talked a little bit before this call about how it's a little bit like the Wild Wild West out there.
It is. So if you think about online shopping, most of us buy music, maybe electronics, clothing online. But still, in terms of food, most people are buying their food the traditional way in a grocery store. And so when I first came into e-commerce, we as a company didn't know really how we were going to, what the future looked like for us. We just knew that we needed to embrace e-commerce because it is the future. People are adopting online shopping every single day. And so I expected our customers, so like an Amazon.com or Walmart.com or Jet.com, to kind of help us catch up and tell us how to best market to consumers and how to, really do well online. And so my initial meetings with them, kind of explaining my brands and our opportunities, I quickly realized that they didn't have the answers. They were actually asking me, well, we were hoping you'd help us figure out how to win in grocery. And then I talked to other manufacturers, and while some of them were a little bit ahead of us, they also admitted that they didn't really know how to win either. And so it's been kind of exciting. It's exciting to typically at work, which I've been fortunate enough to love my career, but typically you might be working through a problem or an opportunity, but you can talk to other people, talk to people you work with, and kind of get an answer, or at least have an experience. Someone else went through what you're trying to do, and they can give you their point of view. With e-commerce, it's still so new that everyone's very collaborative, but no one has the answer. And that's been kind of exciting because it's fun knowing that as we craft our plan, it's going to, one, kind of set the future for how we will go to market through e-commerce, but also that we're able to kind of bring and establish best practices that will become the way the organization works.
Yeah, and you've talked to it a little bit, but could you explain some of the challenges? And from my perspective, a traditional delivery system would be a truck pulls up to a grocery store and is dropping off cases and pallets of product because it's filling up a shelf, a destination, whereas online, you might get a random allotment of individual packages where the efficiencies of scale might not be in place. Am I correct on that?
Correct. So the biggest thing to think about online is the shelf is unlimited. So usually when you go to a grocery store, especially for the snack categories, you go to the aisle and those are your options. And so to your point, we work with the customer to kind of figure out the plan for the aisle, and we, through years of study, know what to put where to attract a consumer's eye as they're shopping the aisle. Online, it's a limited shelf, so the competitive set is 1,000-fold. Literally you and I could start selling cookies on Amazon tomorrow.
Right.
But consumers don't browse the entire shelf. In fact, online, they really look at the first 10 products they see. So my biggest challenge is how do I get consumers to even know I'm here? If they go online and search for Oreo, one, they're probably only going to look at the first 2 or 3 Oreos they see, but they'll also never see Chips Ahoy. Whereas when they go to the store, they see the whole line. I may have gone to the shelf for Oreo, but I also know someone in my family wants chocolate chip cookie, and I add that to the basket. Online, it's much more challenging to do that. We like to drive impulse. We know people typically impulsively put our products in the basket. They know they need a snack, but they let their eyes kind of choose for them. Online, it's harder to control that or influence that.
Right. And I come from that same kind of world where impulse is such a big deal. That's why you
Yes.
put the extra displays by the checkout.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're waiting there in line, you get that extra ring because they're just waiting there and like, oh, that looks good. I'll pick it up and throw it in my basket. And you don't have that, or at least no one's really cracked the code on finding out how to do that in e-commerce, correct?
That is correct. And so I think the exciting thing about e-commerce is it does make it easier for a startup to even the playing field. So if you are a startup that wants to do really, really well on, one retailer, then you can put all your focus there and potentially grab attention that would normally go to an established brand. That's exciting for the consumer. Everyone gets options and choices, but definitely makes it much harder to compete.
Well, and it's probably a lot easier to find that special Oreo, like a double mocha frappuccino Oreo online versus going to a bunch of different grocery stores, right?
It's definitely easier, but you have to know you're looking for it. That's the difference. So what I do, like when the Swedish Fish Oreo launched 2 years ago, I knew people knew the brand Swedish Fish, and they knew that was a unique combination, and so they were searching Swedish Fish to kind of see if it was real. And so then we did advertising to let them know it's real and you can buy it here. But some of our flavors, maybe it's blueberry pie. If you don't know blueberry pie Oreo exists, then when you go online, you're going to type in Oreo. And so then it's my job to make sure you see the blueberry pie. Because again, you're not going to scroll through pages of Oreos. You're going to pick one of the top 3 Oreos you see, which typically is more of an established product.
Right. I can see that being a huge challenge to get the eyeballs on the right product. So
e-commerce is definitely challenging if you try to go to market the same way you did when there were just physical stores. But when you think about the opportunities when you are online, one, the consumer is everywhere, and I personally believe there's lots of space for personalization and customization in terms of perhaps some strange reason only people in New York City like mint chocolate. I'm making it up. We could easily make sure people in New York City see that there's mint chocolate Oreos, whereas people in California would see peanut butter Oreos. So there's definitely the advantages online to that are a little different than in store.
So corporately, from like an Amazon, because I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around this, would Mondelez have their own storefront, or do they strictly go through other storefronts?
We typically want to be where consumers are already shopping.
Okay.
What we found for the most part is in groceries, people who are buying groceries are usually doing other grocery shopping. And so if I'm already buying food and water and milk at Kroger.com, then I would want to buy my snacks there as well.
Right, right. And do you do like digital coupons? You've got one purchase and it triggers a coupon for another purchase?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things we do. So we definitely do digital coupons. We also know that a lot of people who shop online tend to just go to their previous purchase items and like refill the basket, because the number one reason people shop online is because it's convenient for them. And so a lot of times people are kind of reordering their staples each week or however frequently they purchase groceries online. So we will also offer different incentives like free shipping, because no one in the United States likes to pay for shipping if you're buying online,
right,
to kind of help them fill the basket.
Right, and I can see the big issue too, because if you're buying a $3 item, it might cost $1.50 to ship it. I don't know about that much, but the point is a large percent of the sale price.
No,
right.
That's definitely an issue, and it's different in different countries. So in the United States, we have been programmed to not pay for shipping. It's the biggest joke, and I know I do it myself. During the holidays, I may go on a website and spend over $100, and then it says $5 shipping, and I'm like, oh nope, I'm not going to buy that. I'll go somewhere else.
I'm out.
We're kind of, we feel like we're, being suckered into paying for shipping, whereas in other countries, people pay for shipping all the time. It's definitely a challenge in groceries, especially for, to your point, items that don't cost a lot of dollars, per pound are lower. It's much easier if you're buying, a stereo system, or people don't buy stereo systems anymore, but like you're buying like headphones, which are a much higher dollaring than a package of cookies. Paying $1 or $2 for shipping is challenging for a consumer to do. So we do like to offer incentives to help them.
Do you see a big evolution in the e-commerce industry in the next 2 to 5 years? I think it's Amazon, they've got the Whole Foods. Is it Whole Foods? Their connection, and got the Amazon lockers. Do you see that expanding and some other folks trying to get into that realm?
I definitely see it expanding. It's definitely, I think different people have different opinions on who's going to win. It's kind of fun to see like who will come out the victor. You really have what we call pure play e-commerce customers, like in Amazon, where they're solely sold online. There's no brick and mortar storefronts, even though Amazon is experimenting with brick and mortar storefronts as well.
Right.
And then you have what we call click and collect, which are grocery stores and different stores where you buy things online, but then you do go to the store to pick it up. It's still convenient because I can do my shopping while I'm doing something else, maybe watching my kids play soccer or something. And way home from work, I just literally go to the parking lot and someone comes out with my groceries. And then we also are seeing different companies that are basically offering to do the shopping for you, like an Instacart or a Shipt, where they are actually, you're going on their website and they're showing you all of your retailers, so in your area, where you normally grocery shop, and then you're able to select your groceries from your grocer, and then someone delivers them to your home within 2 hours. So I definitely feel like those 3 different methods are going to continue to expand as well as evolve to, again, be as convenient as possible for the shopper over the next couple of years. It's still very, very new and exciting.
So when will my smart refrigerator tell Amazon I'm out of milk and deliver it on a drone?
Yes, and that piece, honestly, like that's coming too. I really do. A lot of people ask me about Alexa because Alexa and Google Home are so popular with people. And truthfully, people aren't, for the most part, purchasing items on those devices, or if they are, it's still mostly music. But they are becoming more and more a part of our everyday life. And so I'm excited. I definitely am hoping that our kitchens and our TV become much more, smart devices that, again, just make life a little bit easier for us. So I don't know when we'll get to that place, but I do think it's coming soon.
It's funny. Someone once said Amazon drone delivery is like skeet shooting, but with prizes. Fairly illegal as well. I just know that my Kroger, Click It, whatever they call that, the line to get the products out front is 15 cars deep. My Walmart, it's 0 cars deep, at least at this point. I'm sure that will pick up.
I think it just depends on the store and location and where different customers are focusing. But yes, it's definitely what you mentioned here as well. I'm in New Jersey, and there's a couple of retailers that I've tried to use, but I have to schedule a pickup for a couple of days, in the future, and I want my groceries now. I opt more for the delivery types that will deliver within 2 hours.
Right. Well, before we move on to our next question, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsors. Do you enjoy your job and find it fulfilling? Or do you spend more time wondering what if instead of what's next? If so, contact Career Spa. Career Spa has extensive programs and curriculum and understands the challenges faced by individuals in transition. They can teach these success practices to be mastered for an effective job search. Answer that what if question by contacting Career Spa and asking their experts, what's next? Contact Career Spa at careerspa.net. Talent acquisition is key to building a successful organization. Talent Connections is a professional services firm that specializes in recruiting, including executive search, contract recruiting, talent acquisition consulting, and recruitment process outsourcing. Whether you are an individual or a Fortune 100 company, Talent Connections can connect you with success. Contact them at talentconnections.net. Welcome back. We just learned what you wanted to be when you grew up and what you actually do today. So if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I think I would take more chances and not follow the crowd.
Good advice.
And I hope that I continue to do that. So I've tried over the last few years, like taking the e-commerce role, to not necessarily do what my peers are doing. But I know when I first got out of school, I had that kind of competitive mindset and was kind of understand if I was keeping up with my classmates, as well as having that first company I worked for, which I loved the people, but I knew pretty quickly that it wasn't my future. But I stayed because there were opportunities. And so I wish that I had taken a little bit more chances early on.
That's great advice. Well, speaking of which, let's make the assumption that someone wants to do what you do, to be an e-commerce expert, let's say. What advice would you give them? And is there a typical career path, which is an interesting question considering this is a new role?
Yeah, so I feel like, my advice would be, ask questions, tell people you're interested, and look online. Everyone is hiring because it is so new. And I would say, make choices in terms of, it may be a lower ranked job than what you thought you wanted, but your learning long term will, take you far. Or it, may be a very competitive job. But it's definitely a space where you can learn about e-commerce from the retailers. So almost every retailer, be it Nike, Walmart, Amazon, they all have an e-commerce space, clothing especially. So there's a lot of places to learn, as well as manufacturers, as well as digital marketing. So I think pretty much no matter what you kind of like or like to do, there's an e-commerce opportunity for you. The people that I see working in e-commerce have traditionally either gotten their start of their career at a pure play type company that specializes in e-commerce, or they just took an opportunity. Maybe they were in supply chain and wanted to learn more about e-commerce, so they moved over. It really is open at this point. There's tons of opportunities.
That's awesome.
I would say in terms of skill sets, I think being comfortable with the unknown is important, and being able to, ask questions and network.
Right. Yeah, networking is so important. Well, speaking of which, did you have a mentor or mentors? And if so, how did they influence your career?
Yes, I have a couple of mentors. Informal. So I've had formal mentoring sessions where I was assigned a mentor. Those, for me, never really worked. What I found best is reaching out to people who I felt like I could learn from or had some kind of rapport with. And, some of them I've kind of just told them, you are my mentor. Some of them might not know they are a mentor of mine. But I will, definitely, have coffee with them or lunch or just call them up and, ask for their advice. And I found that people love to give advice. Just kind of look around, look at the things and skills that you want to develop and the people that you see that have them, and ask them questions. I've never had someone not return a phone call.
I'm glad you mentioned people love to give advice, because I think overall people want to see other people succeed.
Yes.
And based on doing it the hard way, sometimes they give advice. So, hey, you don't have to go through what I went through.
Yes.
And that's actually one of the reasons I've started this whole podcast, because I just feel like there's a huge educational base in all fields that is untapped. Hopefully people will listen to this and say, hey, I did actually learn something about e-commerce I never knew about. So thank you for being on this podcast.
Well, thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, are there any current projects you're working on that you would like to share?
Yeah, so it's the holidays. And so, as you mentioned before, I do work on Oreo, and Oreo is one of our biggest brands. We have a big activation and a really exciting product that we're launching on Amazon, where it's called Oreo Music Box, and it actually plays music off of an Oreo.
Get out of here.
It's a great stock. It works. It's the coolest thing ever. It's a great stocking stuffer for the holidays. and you put the Oreo on, and then if you take a bite of the Oreo and put it back on the player, it'll play a different song. The player is literally reading the Oreo. It's the coolest thing. And so we're really excited to be, it's, a big activation for the Oreo brand, but we're selling it exclusively online, and we're very excited about that.
That is incredible. You say music box, I picture the one with the little ballerina that pops up, but this is totally different. So
different, but it is a little record player, but instead of a record, and I guess for people, records were the things we had before we had digital music. So it's a tiny little record player. This you can hold it in your hand, and it just plays Oreo.
That is awesome. That is really, really cool.
It's limited time only, so definitely look for it.
Well, that's great. Well, as with most journeys, success largely depends on reliable transportation. I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a huge car enthusiast. I've owned old ones. I've rebuilt some. I just love cars. So in that vein, I'd like to ask you, what was your first car?
My first car was a green Plymouth Duster.
Wow. That's a classic right there.
Yes, I loved it. It was a great little two-seater. Well, no, I guess it was a back seat, but it was two-door car.
Well, do you have a dream car? And if so, what is it?
I'm not a car enthusiast. I think my dream car is a chauffeur driving me around. I don't really have one.
Well, you're in Jersey. I get that, yeah. I'll be in Jersey tomorrow, so I get that, yeah.
What about you? What's your dream car?
I've got like 100, so you got to quantify it. Like, all right, under $100,000.
No, like car? Most expensive.
Oh, wow. That would be a 1959 Ferrari short wheelbase alloy convertible. So think of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
Kind of like that, but even cooler.
Okay.
The problem is they're like $15 million, so that will not happen. But thanks for asking.
You never know.
Yeah, thanks for asking. You're the first person that's asked me what my dream car is. So.
People want to know these things.
That's right. Well, one great perk to some jobs is a company car. So if I had all the money in the world, I'd love to buy you a really cool company car. And I'm basing it on your job with Oreo.
Okay.
Are you ready for this one?
I am.
So my thought process, what is the Oreo of cars? Like the most popular car ever. And when I did the research, they weren't that exciting. The Toyota Corolla, the Ford F-150, the Volkswagen Golf, the Honda, all great cars, but not that exciting. So then I said, okay, well, the number one seller is a Toyota Corolla. So what is a truly indulgent, like the Oreo, Toyota? And what I came up with is their first sports car. It was built between 1967 and 1970, called the Toyota 2000 GT. I will send you a picture of this. It's a super cool car.
Okay.
Yeah, it's two-door little sports car. They only made 350 of them. And it's kind of like the flavored Oreos. It was very limited production. And Sean Connery actually drove one in You Only Live Twice, the James Bond movie.
Okay.
And
yes.
I don't know if you know this or not, but at the very beginning of the James Bond movie, if you look closely, you can see him eating an Oreo. Actually, that's not true. I just made that up.
Oh. I was like, really?
Yeah, how awesome would that be? So that's the car I would pick for you. It's a two-door, swoopy, really cool, iconic, limited production Toyota that is, in my world, the equivalent of an Oreo. So that would be your company.
I love it.
Oh, good. I'm glad you love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you kind of have to love it because it's like a $2 million car. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for taking us on your journey today. What's the best way our listeners can learn more about you or your company?
So I would say definitely LinkedIn, but also the company, I would say Facebook or all social media. You can look up Mondelez or Nabisco or Oreo or Sour Patch. And definitely go to the store and look down our aisle.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking us on your journey today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Learn from Others, where we help others succeed by sharing success. Where will our next adventure take us? Subscribe to find out. If you know of someone who has a cool career story or occupation, contact Greg through Instagram at Greg Stanley LFO. That's GregStanley LFO. And we will see you soon as we learn from others together.